Hey, what up writers? I'm Violet, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the main character tag. This tag was created by the Troublemakers, Devasha, Katie Ann, Stieg, and Wallace as a way to get to know a little bit more about what we're writing without giving away too many spoilers. I was tagged by Katie Ann to do this tag, and I'm going to be talking about the main character of my current work in progress, my Highschool Monster Hunter project. So let's just hop right into the questions. Question number 1. What is your MC's name? How did you, the author, choose that name? How does your MC feel about their name? So Robin is the main character. I have this thing where I always say that my main characters name themselves. I know that sounds silly, but it always feels like that. Like here's the character and the name just like magnets to them, and I have very little choice in the process, and that was the case with Robin. My sort of first pinprick of idea for this story, and when I started drafting, was a very short window of like 1 week's time. So I needed to name her quite quickly, and I had just called her Girl, and when I sat down to think of a name for her, the only thing I knew was I wanted a true gender neutral name, not sort of like a typical masculine name on a woman. I wanted a very true blue gender neutral name. So I pulled up my phone and I was like ready to type in neutral name list, and as I was typing it in, I was like, yeah, something like Robin, like really. And then I like stopped dead what I was doing. I stopped and I was like, oh, that's her name, isn't it? It's Robin, it's gonna be Robin. And it was. There was no reason to look after that. The name stuck, and I could never picture her as anything else after that moment. And as for how she feels about her name, I think she's quite happy with her name. I think it fits her quite well. She's not a huge fan of nicknames, so she would rather be called Robin than you to give her a nickname or to shorten it or anything else. So that is question number 1. So let's get on to the second question. Question number 2. What is your MC's zodiac sign? Even if they live in a fantasy world, everyone has a vibe. This question took me a little bit off guard because I had not assigned her a zodiac sign, and it was actually on my list of things to do to pinpoint when her birthday was. I've had that written down as like a little side note in my edits for a long time, like, Violet, you really need to decide an exact date for her birthday. So this question kind of put me into high gear on getting that done. I didn't need to pull up a zodiac list and sort of look over the traits and features of each zodiac because of the sort of theme and motif of duality in this story. I immediately was like, it's gotta be Gemini, you know, the twins, this sort of duality personified, and I thought that's Robin to a T. And then when I did look up some of the traits about Gemini, I thought, yes, that fits her, that's gonna work, that's gonna do just fine. And not only that, having her birthday at the end of May fits perfectly with the narrative of my story. So now she has a birthday thanks to this question, so thank you for that. Question number 3. What is your MC's relationship to the person/people who raised them? Robin has a great relationship with both her mom and her dad. She's not the closest with her stepdad, but I wanted to have a character who had a very happy sort of co-parenting situation in a divorce. That was important to me. I do like, I'm not a hater against the sort of YA orphan trope, because this story does have an orphan in it. But when I can, I like to give my main characters good relationships with their parents and happy, healthy parent relationships. Question number 4. What is your MC's most important memory prior to the start of your book series? So my story starts off at the beginning of her senior year, and she's still very much processing the breakup of her first love. So I think the biggest moment for her would have been sort of, the early days of that relationship, falling in love and reliving it, and how that relationship has impacted her life and her social life going back to school after that. So it's a lot about her recollecting about that. I think another big memory for her would have been the birth of her sister, because like I said, she has divorced parents, and her mom having a child after being remarried really also changed the dynamic of her life after being an only child. So I think those would be 2 kind of bigger memories that would be very impactful on her. Question number 5. Your character walks into a library. What section do they head to first? When I originally read this question, I thought, oh, she just isn't much of a reader. She probably just goes to the magazines and looks at some fashion magazines. That seems like her vibe. But when I really deep dove and thought about it, I think she would be a fantasy reader. Not necessarily an adult fantasy reader, but I can definitely see her sort of middle grade YA fantasy, liking that kind of stuff. I can imagine like her and her dad like reading the Hobbit together when she was a child. So I can see that would be maybe where she would go, the young adult, middle grade section at the fantasy books, high fantasy. Question number 6, would your character survive the Oregon Trail? How? Oh, the nostalgia of the Oregon Trail. I loved playing that game in school on those like old ancient computers with a floppy disk. But here's the thing about this question. Is it, would she survive before the narrative of my story or after? Because before, I think she's a goner for sure. But afterwards, I think the Oregon Trail would be a walk in the park for her. Because there is this survival element in my story, and it is about, monsters and monster hunting is a part of it. So she has to kind of go through not only physical and emotional journeys in the events of my story. So I think afterwards, the Oregon Trail would really be a piece of cake for her. Question number 7. What would your character ask if they made a deal with a Crossroads Demon? This question has been on my mind. I did not really like this question when I first read it. Because I write YA and my character is only 17 years old, I got a little bit too introspective here, thinking about what I would have wanted or what I would have traded at the age of 17, and it just made me kind of feel sad, in the way teenagers have this idealized picture of the world, and so many of those problems are going to solve themselves with time. So I don't know, maybe I took this one a little bit too seriously, but I tried to go back and really think about what she would want. And I think for her, the most important thing would to be able to not have to justify herself to anybody, just be able to live her life and not have to give any explanation. I don't know, it's very hard for me to say. I did spend a lot of time thinking about this question, and I still don't really have a definite answer. Question number 8. What will your character think about on their deathbed? Now this one I had a little bit more fun with. So I think, I'm imagining Robin like as an old woman on her deathbed. I imagine her thinking about what would her life have been like if she hadn't realized the existence of monsters in this monster world, if she had never been introduced to it. I imagine her sort of reflecting that, how that changed the outcome of her life. But I also had this really funny thing in my head, imagining Robin maybe like in some sort of nursing home or assisted living facility with dementia, because like arguing with the staff about like, oh, there's like monsters over there, or oh, there's gonna be like a monster, and then being like, sure, Robin, yeah, I'm sure there's an invisible monster, outside right now, like. And I think because I'm the author of this story, it's not, headcanon, it's just real canon. That is what's going to happen to Robin in her later life, because I find that, it kind of warms my soul and maybe a more lighthearted take on death. But that is it for the questions in this tag. If you would like to join along and share a little bit more about what you're working on and your main character, please go ahead. Feel free. I am going to tag author Anne-Sophie because I know she likes a good writing tag. But anybody else who wants to do it, feel free to hop right in. And that's going to be it for this one. I will catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.